It is harder and harder to get in touch with your prospects, but what can you do as a sales rep to make sure you stand out and to grab their attention a little bit more effective? I believe in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, not only because they sponsor this podcast, but because the stuff actually works. Today, we're going back into the archive and we're going to bring out this episode because there's so many people have questions around LinkedIn Sales Navigator and how to maximize it. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I have the one and only Josh Shirley coming on a podcast. This episode we did back 2 years ago, and it was really good because Josh identified what he called the rule of 7 for LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And it's 7 things that he teaches people. And these are things that are still relevant right now. So I wanted to make sure we bring this back because so many people are trying to figure out, how am I going to get a hold of the prospect? How am I going to stand out? How am I going to make a difference? And LinkedIn is a great way to do so. In addition to your other tools, your phone and email, but LinkedIn just is a powerful avenue. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, I want to tell you the show is designed to be able to help you not only build pipeline, but to accelerate deals through the pipeline. We give you content that's going to tie directly with what you're facing right now as a B2B sales rep. In this episode, listen to some of these 7 insights, these 7 strategies and tips that you can use to make sure your LinkedIn Sales Navigator game improves. And if you're not using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can take advantage of the free trial for LinkedIn Navigator and get 2 months free by going into the show notes and check out the link below. Appreciate it. Let's dive in. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here.
I am looking forward to this because everyone knows as sales professionals, we got to get things at the top of the pipe. We got to get more prospects into the queue. And specifically when it comes towards LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, many of us, we have it. But some people aren't using it, taking advantage of it. So right. I am a big proponent of it. I'm a big fan of it. And they do sponsor this episode, so take advantage of the links in the show notes for 2-month free trial.
There we go.
But as we start this conversation, specifically, I bragged about you a little bit in a teaser and what you do. You mind taking a second and telling us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So we're Sandler. Some people have heard of us. I described it a little differently. What I would say is if you're a business owner and you have like a legal team and an accounting team, or you're a software developer and you have a team that joins big pieces of data together, like all those functions have institutions that support how to do their job. So you can go to law school, you can get a degree in finance, you can learn Python and be effective on your first day in joining data sets together. But when you're in sales, you just don't have that. You kind of come in with your own charisma. You've got your own background and your way of doing things, and it's just it's a line of work. It's a wonderful profession that a lot of people can't stay in because there's not really a systematized way to do things.
Yeah.
So I become relevant for somebody when a sales leader wants to see in sales the same kind of institutional support that you'd see in those other areas. Meaning, like, there's a systematized way where I can expect an outcome given a set of inputs.
Love it. And I think that's one of the unique things about Sandler. I went through the Sandler sales system when I first started off in my B2B sales career, and it literally, after going through for 6 weeks, I saw that I was able to close some deals, and one of my first deals that I closed was around $30K. Nice. So it proved to me then, as you just clarified and went back in with this, is that there's a systematized. If you follow the system, the results will come, and I'm always eternally grateful. I had Dave on a podcast, CEO of Sandler, back in the pandemic, so I gave him my shout out.
Oh, good, yeah. Dave Mattson's a good guy. Okay. He's got great stories too.
Yeah, he does
for sure.
So I want to go in today. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of how we can maximize Navigator, and in your case, you look at it and have used it and have seen tremendous success on how we can use this as a referral source. Talk to me about that first before we dive into Navigator.
Well, I think most people listening to this would agree with us if we said that referrals are the most bankable form of leads that you get from anywhere. Right? Like, I'll take a referral for sure above, like, hey, do these 10 cold calls, or, execute this email campaign, or go to this conference. Like, I think we'd all agree that that's a very preferred way to get your leads. And so, however, I think a lot of people think about leads as if they are a passive form of leads, meaning like, oh, if I just go about my normal day, I'll eventually get one. And like, they come and go, and there's no real predictability to it. So I would say that the first mindset or shift that has to happen is thinking of referrals as if it is something that can be operationalized. Like, you can control the amount of referrals that come to you. And so the LinkedIn rule of 7 is just, it's kind of an easy way to execute that, or to think about it. And it's a way to build structure into how often you ask for referrals. So it's a system. So essentially, if you talk to 10 people this week, 10 customers, 10 people who know you, on average, 2 of those people, 2 of those customers, 2 of those fans will refer business to you no matter what. All right? Yeah. Like, they just like you. Like, you've probably closed deals, Donald, where, like, on the way to closing it, you're like, whoa, they're already advocating for me. Like, I haven't done anything for these guys yet. And now they're like, oh, dude, you've got to talk to Julie, right?
Pressure's on at that point, too.
It is. And where are those people, right? So you have, those 2 people out of 10 who, no matter what, will refer you to anybody. And then on the other side of that histogram, you've got 2 people who just do not care no matter what you do. They don't hate you, but they will not refer you to people. That's just not what they do.
Yeah.
In the middle, though, there's 6 more people who will refer you to somebody if only you would ask. And so what the LinkedIn rule of 7 is meant to tap into is this, idea of 60% of the people that you are working with and you are making successful, who aren't referring you business because you're not asking them to.
Gotcha. So it comes down to the fact that it's probably me not doing it as the seller.
That's it.
More so. But how do I know who's going to be good to ask for a referral? And I know people say, ask all your customers and so forth. But how do I know who's good to ask? And then I want to go into what to ask. But I'm sure you're going to go deeper sure. As you go into the rule of 7.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, you don't know who's good to ask until you ask. But that can't be a reason for not asking. Right? And so essentially, understanding that doing this is a behavior or a habit that you've got to create. It's an action that you've got to perform in order for it to be successful. I've had in my mind that, I'm really sticking it out there by asking this person for a referral. And then I've done it and been incredibly surprised at how much energy they then put into it, and how much they want me to be successful in front of people they know. And I asked my mom for referrals, and she did not give me any. It can turn, that's a true story. When I started working in this business, I was like, I got to start close to me, the whole Brian Buffini thing, just start working your circle. And so I did that, and my mom's like, yeah, I'm sorry, what do you do again? Right? All of a sudden I can't, so you don't know who is actually gonna be able to supply you with a referral until you try.
Yeah.
So that sort of brings us to this idea of LinkedIn and its whole purpose. If you got some people listening to this, maybe they've seen LinkedIn Sales Navigator, they've clicked on it, or worse, they've been told that they have access to it as a function of working in the role, and just are a little intimidated by it, and I get that. So the idea of LinkedIn, if you just looked at it from a definitive standpoint, it's a pretty pure social media platform. Like its one job is to inform you of who you know and who they know. I mean, that's really the whole idea of it. And so LinkedIn Sales Navigator, just basically for anybody listening who might not have tried it or might be a little intimidated by it, the easiest thing to say about it is that it makes that easier. So the biggest example for somebody who might be new to it is if I go and I'm friends with Donald and I want to see who Donald knows to try and work up a list of introductions that he could make on my behalf. I'll start doing that. And I'll be like, whoa, this is a pain in the ass. Because I have to go and look at all these different inputs to try to see who you know and what they do. And it's a really long process on vanilla LinkedIn to do that. It does give you some filtering, but it's just so if that's ever been a real pain for you to do, LinkedIn Sales Navigator essentially gives you way more options to be able to do that. So I can go in and I can pivot on Donald, and then I can have all of my account firmographic data up against that. So I can say I want to see sales leaders who work at companies with more than 10 salespeople who might be using these technologies in this patch of the country or world, right? And all of a sudden, it spits out 247 people that Donald knows who fits those titles. And now it's up to me to go through and perform my research on a much smaller subset of the population. That's a really high level on what it is and does.
So the rule of 7 comes back to me. Can you just clearly outline that based on the example you just gave, how the rule of 7 would apply to that scenario?
Yeah, so the rule of 7, simply put, is the ratio of people that you know or who you're connected to on LinkedIn to who you actually know is 7-1. And this is roughly what I've seen over the course of several years of using it, and it's my own data. And I'd also like to asterisk this a little bit by saying that I sell to salespeople. As you know, we are the whores of LinkedIn, and we will connect to anybody. So your rule of 7 may be more of a rule of 3, 4, or 5, right? So It depends on your industry. But I like saying 7 because that's what I've seen, and I think it'll help set expectations for anyone using it. So, for example, if I look at 7 people that you know in your profile, odds are you will actually know one of them well enough to introduce me to.
Yeah.
That's the rule of 7.
So now, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, well, it has 3 applications. So, okay, good. I understand the rule of 7 now, but how would I actually use that is where I'm going now. It's basically the first application for the rule of 7 would be a one-to-many refer to prospect scenario. So this is good for somebody who might be a territory manager or someone who works in B2B who's looking for somebody inside of a certain kind of firmographic and inside a certain geography maybe. But other than that, it's kind of no holds barred on who you can actually talk to. So that person is somebody who could utilize this application. And it's simply just, if Donald is my referrer and somebody who will refer me to people, for every 7 people I show him on his LinkedIn profile, on average, he'll know one of those people. That's the first application. Mm-hmm. Second application is simply the inverse of that. So if you are responsible for a set of named accounts, not necessarily for a set of accounts that you can go get depending on what they look and sound like, but more, hey, Donald, you've been given these, 99 accounts. Go out and get them. Meet people inside of those accounts. So the inverse of that is the second application, and that is a many-to-one ratio of the number of referrers you have to a certain prospect who you're trying to meet. So this application you got to be a little wary of. And sometimes it doesn't always work because you've got your own rule of 7 working against you this time. So if I'm trying to meet Tammy at ABC Company and I see that she knows 7 of my connections, well, odds are that I'm only going to know 1 of my connections. So this can have some limited application unless you're in a field that people don't migrate in and out of very often. So I would say I work with some lawyers, legal people. I work with some healthcare people. I work with some education people, and those folks tend to see more utility in this because people don't leave that profession as often, and so there's a good chance, a better chance at least, that you'll know somebody that you're trying to look for, and then you'll have enough people who know that person where somebody could introduce you. So that's application number 2.
Okay.
Application number 3 is my favorite because there's a lot of ways that you can pivot off of it. And it can work for the territory scenario, B2B territory scenario, and it can work for you if you're trying to get into a named account as well. And that is where there's a 1-to-1 ratio between refers and prospects. So let's say that across your book of business that you're trying to get into, or maybe LinkedIn Sales Navigator does a great job every week of sending me a list of 100 people that it thinks I ought to know based on my activity. So if I were to filter through that and find, 7 people that I want to get to know, I'll do a little research and maybe filter on how many of those connections are, second degree, which means I know someone that they know. And if I ask 7 of my contacts who I know, who know another prospect, so it's 1-to-1, 7 different conversations, odds are one of those 7 will know one of those people. Mm-hmm. So I've had 7 individual conversations with a person who knows one person that I'm trying to talk to. So that's the third application of the rule of 7, is that if you have that conversation 7 times, odds are you're going to find one pair that actually knows each other, and you can get one introduction.
It's awesome. So the thing that I want to figure out now, if I look at this, what do I say to that person? Because everyone's been bombarded on LinkedIn, whether it's the 1-to-1, 1-to-many, the named account approach, or even the final one that we just went over there. Everyone knows a lot of people, and they're going to get messages, everyone's inbox is going to be overrun with messages. What do I say to help my message to resonate with the person I'm reaching out to, even though there's somebody that I know of already or might be acquainted with? If it's a second approach, they may not necessarily know me, but they might come and say, Donald's coming to ask from me without giving. How do I make sure that I don't come across that way, if that makes sense? Right.
Well, first of all, I think that we have to sort of deal with in ourselves this idea that I might not be worthy of a referral, mm-hmm. or that the person that I'm asking, I'm going to bother them, right? So when I'm coaching salespeople, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's not a technique issue. Like, it's not that you don't know how to ask for referrals. It's that there's something in me stopping me from asking because I'm afraid I'm going to come across as needy. So we got to deal with that belief. And now, to make it a little less philosophical, I'll give you a couple of things that I like to do to kind of make this into more of a behavior. So if we looked at that third application for a second, let's say that I did that this morning and I had 7 individual conversations on LinkedIn. Maybe I used the LinkedIn message feature mm-hmm. to actually carry out those conversations.
Sure.
I would send the messages out, and I can get into in a second the content of a good message that I think can help. But just to stay strategic for a second, if I send out those 7, what I typically find is that one person would be willing to actually make the introduction, and they actually know the person. And, oh, that's Jimmy. We went to school together, or I used to work for him or her. And yeah, I think you'd make a great introduction, and here we go. Second, you're going to see 2 people out of the 7 that you contacted who don't get back to you at all. Remember, these are people who you feel comfortable asking. So it's not some, like acquaintance. You're actually going for people, right? So you've done your own filtering by this point. But even then, you're going to get 2 people who are like my mom, who are like, nope, I got other stuff that I got to do, right?
I got to go watch some TV, bro. Go figure it out.
I'm retired, man. I don't do this anymore. So now we've just burnt 3 of our 7, right? So 1 actually gave us the referral, 2 didn't say anything. You get 4 people who are going to say no. Actually write you back and go, I don't know, Debbie, sorry, right? So in my response to that, I usually say, yeah, bummer, all good. I find typically that people on LinkedIn don't always know the person that I'm asking.
Yeah.
So would it be okay if I went out and found a few more people in your profile and came back to you with those? If you found anybody in that bunch, would you be willing to help me out with them? So a message like that sent 4 times, I've never gotten a no to that.
Wow.
Unless it's somebody who works in a field where they can't, or you find somebody who, doesn't have their LinkedIn connections turned on so that you can see who they know. There's that obstacle. Outside of those fringe cases, I've never gotten a no to that question. Like, hey, so if somebody comes at me and just says, nah, man, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And naturally, people want to be able to help you. Like, if you can adjust within yourself to go toward a belief that's about, hey, people on LinkedIn who I know, they want to support my business. They believe in me as a seller. They believe in me as a consultant, a software provider, a window salesman, whatever it is I do. They're willing to refer me. That attitude can keep me going so that I can ask those questions. And then I find those 4, I ask those questions, and they want to help me, and they go, nah, man, I'm sorry. I don't know that. And 9 times out of 10, the message says sorry.
Yeah.
They're apologizing to you. All good. Well, what if I gave you another chance, right? And now all of a sudden I have a way to start those conversations. And now this is where the 3rd application of the rule of 7 connects to the first one. So now I can say, Donald, yeah, understood, man. Not everybody knows everybody on here. How about I go and find 7 people? And if I did, and you did know one of those people, would you be willing to either introduce me or, and here's another key thing you can ask for. If you're not comfortable doing that, are you okay with me name dropping you? And so what I mean by that is, can I go off and talk to Sandy and tell Sandy that I know you? And if you don't find somebody who has the time or the commitment to you to make introductions on your behalf, that's okay. Go ahead and ask for a name drop instead if they're more comfortable with that. And I've gotten meetings and all those great things from just somebody willing to let me use their name.
Yeah. Dope. I love it. Well, this is good. You gave us some good stuff here that we could take advantage of. In this 20-minute period, we have some content outlined here, and you guys can get some of this down in the show notes. You can see it there, where it breaks down these different scenarios with the rules of 7 and how you could go about applying it. And don't let it make it harder than you think. Josh, if folks want to get in touch with you to learn more about Sandler or connect with you or whatnot, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Well, I'll keep it inside this and say LinkedIn. So you can find me.
Of course.
LinkedIn. I think it's /Josh.Shirley. It's very OG. Like there's no numbers or anything in there. You can also just, Josh Shirley Sandler. That should be the first thing that comes up. On Mondays, I do a qualities of the top 1% of salespeople. It's a short 1-minute video that I put out every week. I've got a podcast called Sales Tales. And so lots of great stories that we hear on Sales Tales. If you've ever blown a presentation, or if you've ever had a cold call that went wrong or lost an account, like you can go on that, you can listen to that show and you can hear successful salespeople who are at the top of their game giving you stories about how they, for example, walked in to pitch Dell on some new product they have and busted out a MacBook Pro. That's just one of many of these things.
Well, that there's just a classic. I love that. Well, I'm really pumped for this. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, man, and look forward to working with you and to hear about all the good stuff. We'll put all of your episodes there as well.
Thanks, Donald.
Oh, man, that was some good stuff. I told you the archives. There's some good stuff in this archive here, man. I want you to connect with Josh if you haven't done so already. You can find his link, his information down below. And coincidentally, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just a powerful avenue, and I really, 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 really want you to take advantage of it to find success. If you haven't done so already, check out the free trial you can get with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Listen, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking. But most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things. See you on the next one.